Hi everyone. Today I'm talking about why INFJs have so much anxiety and depression. Now, first of all, one of the big contributing factors to this is that INFJs are highly anxious people. Most of us know that we are highly sensitive people, and we might be aware that we're anxious, but usually we've been anxious for so long, we've had high anxiety for such a long time in our life, that we take it for granted. It feels like a normal condition for us. And so a lot of times we forget that not everyone else is this anxious. We have high anxiety in nearly all areas in our lives. We are very physically sensitive, so we're very sensitive to any chaos in our environment. If you work in a chaotic workplace or a big open office plan where people are talking a lot and there's always a lot going on, that's something that's going to cause high anxiety for INFJs. Or if you live in a chaotic household where there's a lot of people coming and going, you don't have a lot of privacy, you don't have a lot of your own space, that's also something that causes INFJs to be highly anxious. We're also mentally sensitive and emotionally sensitive. So if we have any sort of conflict going on in our relationships, that can bring on high anxiety. If we have too heavy of a workload or too many tasks to do at one time, we will become easily overwhelmed, and that sends us into high anxiety. So if we're not really careful about the way our lives are set up and that we have enough privacy, we have enough space, we have enough downtime, we can really go into high anxiety quite easily. Now, the depression most often comes because INFJs tend to be confused about life. Many of us are searching for meaning. Meaning in life is one of the most important things to an INFJ. It's what we long to find. It's what we yearn for. But much of the time, we don't know what direction to go in. We don't know what our life purpose is here. And this causes a lot of depression when we don't feel like we are being useful or we are being, like we're fulfilling our potential on this planet really in a very deep way. That's when we can really become depressed about life and feel very confused and very apathetic or sad. When we're under stress, when we are experiencing anxiety or depression, these two states that bring on a lot of stress, INFJs will tend to compulsively and obsessively overthink. Overthinking is kind of our go-to. We're doing this because we're trying to be prepared. We're doing this because it feels like it's soothing the anxiety at the time. And a lot of times when we're in a depressive state, we simply can't help it. We're imagining worst case scenarios. We're imagining what if situations. And so the overthinking is kind of a vicious cycle. We overthink, which causes us to overthink more, which causes us to overthink even more. And it goes on and on and on. Added to this is that we have very porous boundaries. I always say to my INFJ clients, they always come to me and say, I know I'm bad at boundaries. I've known that my entire life. I'm just bad at it. INFJs are not bad at boundaries. Boundaries are hard for us because boundaries are different for us. It's not that we are doing something wrong. Now, maybe in childhood you did learn some bad behavior around boundaries, or maybe you never learned any behavior at all around boundaries. Maybe the people who raised you, your caregivers, just didn't have boundaries. That piece might be true for you. However, it is also true that the energy field of an INFJ is different than most other people. So energetically, your boundaries are different. Your boundaries are more porous. More stuff gets in. You can't help that. You're not doing anything wrong. It's just the way you are. When you're in the grocery store and you are in a long line of people and all the people around you are angry and frustrated about the line, and if there's someone loudly complaining, that is affecting you more than it's affecting most of the other people in that line. It actually is. And it's not affecting you more because you are doing something wrong or because you don't know how to handle boundaries or you just can't shut it out. So you need to learn something or be better. It's affecting you more because you are more sensitive and you actually do have more porous energetic boundaries. So those people, their anger and their frustration and their complaining and their ranting, that's getting in. That's flooding your system and it's triggering your nervous system and it's making you feel very anxious and sometimes going into fight or flight. That is a very real thing for INFJs. We take on everyone else's stuff, whether we want to or not. Now, in terms of life purpose, when I said it's very hard for INFJs to find their life purpose, we tend to struggle with this, we don't know what direction we want to go into. A lot of this is because we have a hard time finding a true match for our talents and strengths in society. The things we are really good at are usually either not understood by society or not rewarded by society. We are big picture thinkers, and we are able to see what will bring harmony to the entire community, to the entire society, even if that means self-sacrifice from some of the members. We're also able to stay relatively neutral about what we see, whether that's a premonition or a different perspective or a really valuable insight. We're able to stay logically neutral about it and say, hey, if everyone else would sacrifice this little bit, this would really help the environment by 60% over the next 5 years. Well, most people don't want to hear that. Most people don't want to do that. And most people can't think that long term. They can't think that far ahead. So as the visionaries, we tend to be out of step with the rest of society. And this is really hard for us because we do have these gifts and these talents that are crying out for us to fulfill them, but then we have a really hard time finding a good fit for that in society. I have worked with literally hundreds of INFJs over the past 10 years, really literally hundreds. I've coached INFJs, I've taught classes full of INFJs, I've done a lot of programs specifically aimed towards INFJs. I've talked with literally hundreds of INFJs, and almost every one of them struggles with these problems. So if you're watching this video and you're like, oh my gosh, this is me, and this is actually making me feel worse because I feel like I'm so alone in this, I don't know what to do. You're not alone, you're just an INFJ. These are actually very common problems for INFJs. I've put together an online video course, which I'm launching in just a few days. It's called Energy and Intuition for INFJs, and it deals with all of this. It deals with energetic boundaries, relationship problems, INFJ creativity, and how that's different from the creative norm, or what we think of as the mainstream methods of creativity. It's going to deal with the best 2 career models for INFJs, how to find your INFJ life purpose, how to deal with INFJ emotional overwhelm, extreme sensitivity, all of this stuff that can be such a problem for INFJs and that most of the rest of the population doesn't have to deal with. This course is specifically for INFJs. It's based on a live class I taught just a few months ago that was extremely successful, extremely popular. The people in the class loved it. And they said, you have to make a video course with all of this stuff for the INFJs in the world because people need to know they're not alone. Almost every single person showed up to that class saying, I'm a complete alien and I'm all alone. And by the end of the class, they said, I know I'm not alone. I still might be kind of an alien. I still might have come here from somewhere else, but I know that my kinfolk are around me. So hopefully this video course will make you feel a little less alone as well. If you have any questions about it, please feel free to email me. My contact form is on my website, laurencapala.com. You can leave a comment in the comments box below. This video is part of a 3-part video series I'm doing to launch the course. Next video is why INFJs hide their true selves from the world. I will see you then.